And now here's part 2 of our episode. Okay, so he's screaming his ass off. We got a heavy riff. What are some other things that you may want to call out as like what makes this the standout track from the album?
Just the speed.
Yeah.
It's so fast. It's just a punk rock song practically.
Right.
Everything I like about the band is like there to see in one perfect song, I think. And it's like just on the version of If You Want Blood, You Got It, the live record, it's just as good. And there's like music, a video of you can see him playing the song, and it's just insane.
Yeah.
Bon Scott's wearing AC/DC merch. He's got like a hoodie on. He looks like
broke
Papa.
the rule.
Yeah. He's like in his recreation clothes, but he just looks like a monster.
I love that.
He got fire in his eyes. Yeah.
Yes.
They really succeed at like the extremes. I mean, like I feel like the best AC/DC songs are like just adrenaline fueled, or like in some ways the kind of like really sludgy ones. Like I think of like Hell's Bells off back.
Oh yeah.
Like it's just, I don't know, like just they're when their guitars sound either thick or like they're gonna just like burn up because they're playing them so fast. It feels like that's when they're at their best.
For sure. Yeah, you don't even have to. It's just the physical reaction to the music. Yeah. You don't even have to think about it. It's just natural.
Yes. And it's really it speaks to their skill as musicians too, probably, which they may not get enough credit for. Like we know that they can play. I mean, I'm no great guitar player, but like to be able to play that quick and that consistently as much as they do, like that speaks to some real skill.
I've seen, obviously Angus has always been ranked as like top guitar players of all time. Mm-hmm. I still think he's underrated. I feel like he's not in the conversation enough with like the kids maybe or whatever. And then I feel like I've seen Malcolm kind of get his flowers in the last decade or so.
Yeah.
As a rhythm guitar player, because it's just nasty. But I still haven't felt the same love for I don't even know the bass player's name off the top of my head.
Well, they've had a million of them.
Yeah. and then Phil Rudd is just like
great,
a monster on all these songs.
Yeah.
Every player just knows exactly where to be, and they're not getting in the way. They know when to step back and just like play it super simple.
Mm-hmm.
And just like, I think Phil is like a deceptively simple drummer. Like all the hits that he does on Rock and Roll Damnation are so like precise and like just hit at the right time. And it's not always like, it really isn't just kick snare over and over again. There's like a lot of finesse.
There's dynamics to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
for sure.
I think the thing with AC/DC is like they've always been a band. They've made records just so they can play them live. They're like primarily a live band. Like that's that's what they're the best at. Obviously the records are amazing, but just seeing clips of them play live back then and like even up till like now, it's just like incredible.
It seems like what they were most interested in doing, like what they like, it was everything was in service of being able to tour and create a great experience.
Totally.
Live.
Yeah.
Well, it needs to be loud, right? Like, I mean, I think like I remember one time I think I was like in a CVS or something, and I heard "You Shook Me All Night Long" playing over the like the speaker, and I'm like, this is not how the song is meant to be experienced.
Yeah,
and also like I was ashamed of CVS.
It's not elevator music, that's for sure.
No.
What you said about Phil, I think is really spot on too. I always, my friends and I always used to say that about Brad Wilk from Rage Against the Machine too, where you're like, honestly, you can say what you will about Tom, but Brad might be the one that kind of holds everything steady because he is such a good drummer and 100%. So clean. It's insane.
Yeah, totally.
Mike, were you aware of? I think, and we haven't disclosed ages here, and we're not pressing you to do so. But were you aware of the sort of pressure that was put on this band in the 80s, especially going into the 90s, because of like their name and because of the type of music they were making?
I guess not.
You familiar with the Satanic Panic?
Mm.
Oh, I feel like that's just a cycle that just happens, right?
Well, yeah.
There's like always someone freaking out about Satan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I feel like, well, I shouldn't say too much. Anyway, but in any case, being raised Catholic myself, I remember when my parents got a note was sent home. I think there was a meeting they had like in the school cafeteria where parents had to come in and like they were warning parents about the music that was circulating because, and I believe they said the band name stood for Antichrist, Devil's Children. Like it's
Hell
just
yeah. That's hot.
The thing though that like they didn't realize was that by doing that they just made us want to listen to it even more. Like it's just not. I don't know. It's just it's crazy. And you know what? If this is the devil's music, then I don't know. Sign me up.
Dude, devil's music rocks.
Yeah,
it kind of rules. But it sounds like your folks were so not that they were showing you this music. They were encouraging you to listen to this music.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much worse stuff you can listen to than AC/DC.
Yeah.
That's insane. Who else was anyone else getting the satanic panic?
Well, I mean, it was a lot of metal bands. Like I think like Judas Priest.
That makes sense.
I think Megadeth might have been in there, but then also like there would also be like certain hip hop bands too. That anything that a label got slapped on because it was gonna poison your children and lead them to a life of debauchery or whatnot. But the big ones were heavy metal at the time for some reason. I mean, and also like at that time MTV was playing that too. Like there were videos like Def Leppard was all over MTV all the time.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's no. But I mean, I don't know if my listening to rock music as a child has tarnished me now in the eyes of the Lord, but I don't care.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen as much satanic shit as I have lately. Like as far as people like freaking out about it for like my whole high school career, I don't remember anyone being mad at the devil. Like people are embracing the devil.
Yeah, is that what you had to do in Marquette? Did you grow up in Marquette?
I grew up in Ashland, Wisconsin. So it's
Wisconsin.
It's the very top of Wisconsin.
Okay, hence Packers fan, right?
Yeah, about 3 hours west of here. Most of the UP is Packer fan too. It's like I'm closer to Green Bay than I've ever been before in my life right now. Yeah. But
I've never been to a game, but that seems like a singular sporting experience to go.
I've never been there. I've been to Lambeau Field, but I've never been to a game.
It's getting impossible to go to an NFL game these days.
Yeah, it's so expensive,
Ridiculous.
And our band is pretty much split right down the middle.
Oh, really?
Lions, Packer fans.
It's a good time to be a Lions fan, man.
It's a great time to be a Lions fan. If as soon as the Packers get, I hope they don't get eliminated from the playoffs or anything like that. But as soon as they're not in the playoffs, I'm always like rooting for the Lions at this point. I've been here for like 10 years. Yeah, they've never been good. They've got swag right now.
They really do.
It's crazy. They've got so much good things going for them.
There's like we could go down a whole Michigan path that I would love to go down a whole Michigan path, but we have business to attend to first before that. So there we go.
Yeah,
Michael, do you want to go?
Yeah. I mean, we invited you here, Mike. You so graciously accepted our invitation here to make a case for a perfect album, but we got to know. We didn't define the word perfect for you. So what were the standards you used for determining this is a perfect album?
It's kind of just all gut feelings. This is nice. Like, I don't know if it's everyone's perfect album, but it's definitely mine. Mm-hmm. I would say it's the album that I put on the most by a band that I would consider like a top 5 band for me. Yeah, for sure. And if I'm just reaching for it like all the time, like that's the one. It's not a whole lot of, I kind of treated it the same way I listen to the music. I'm not like flipping my brain on. I just like kind of want like a physical reaction to the music. Yeah. And I feel like this one always gives it to me the fastest. And you can dig deeper into this record more than just the base level stuff. I feel like sometimes when you listen to AC/DC, the lyrics do kind of just like fly under the radar. It's kind of more of like the attitude in the voice. But there's some kind of like weird parts of this record lyrically.
Say more. Yeah, what's weird to you?
I'm trying to think, like What's Next to the Moon, when he's talking, he's the whole song is about tying his girlfriend up to the railroad tracks. It's just like, what are you talking about?
Bizarre.
Where did you think? Yeah, it's like Snidely Whiplash. It's just just cartoon violence.
Right.
And I'm trying to think what else. Down Payment Blues. It's like they're not talking about being like broke that often. This band, I feel like there are like the things that make AC/DC songs different from one another are pretty minute. Mm-hmm. So I feel like once they get like past a certain point, you start noticing them a lot more, I would say. Yeah. And there's this album, it just like goes between being lightning fast and like really slow and kind of simmering on a groove for a long time. And it's just Bon Scott getting on a soapbox and yelling about something. But I feel like it's just got a lot of variety and I just reach for it the most. That's why it's my favorite AC/DC record. That's why I give it an 11.
Hell yeah. I think that's a well-made point about it having variety, because relative to some of the other AC/DC albums, I'd say they're far more consistent in terms of tone when you get past this album. Like this one has a like kind of diverse palette of sound, which is pretty satisfying.
Yeah, I would, and this is also the record that I tell people to listen to the most. It's because everyone knows the big hits.
Yeah.
And I would just recommend like an album to someone where they have no context of what an AC/DC album is supposed to sound like. I guess I wouldn't. Back in Black is probably like a good place to start for someone new to AC/DC, like a kid. But if I was going to show like, I don't know, like someone that we were touring with that was an AC/DC hater, I would be like, shut up and listen to this record.
Yeah.
This is the one I would like show them to and tell them, see if this doesn't do it for you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I found it interesting when you look at the This Is Whatever playlist that Spotify has, to see how far down a particular album would be on that as the algorithm decides on Spotify. And Powerage doesn't show up until track 44.
Really?
This Is AC/DC album.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. And it's Rock and Roll Damnation. That's the one.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Good choice, but yeah.
I didn't realize that Back in Black was as successful an album as it was. Because when I was like prepping for this episode, I didn't realize it's the second best-selling album of all time.
I remember last time I looked, it had to have been at least like 20 million copies or something crazy like that.
I think it's even more than that. I think like worldwide, I think it's like maybe over 30 million at this point or something like that.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I remember when I was getting a couple years of being into this band, Black Ice came out. Do you remember that record for AC/DC?
I do.
Well, even if you didn't, like, they were just in, like, they would have racks of them at Walmart. Like, I feel like they had an exclusive record deal with Walmart to sell these records, but I don't know what. I wonder how that equates into the record sales. Because at the one Walmart that was in my hometown, there had to have been at least 1,000 copies there alone.
Christ.
It was crazy.
That is equivalent to U2 being automatically uploaded to your iPod, probably. Right?
Yeah.
That has to be the physical
form.
media equivalent.
I don't remember that happening. I remember people getting mad about it, but it probably just got lost in my iTunes or something.
Yeah. I wasn't that mad about it. I was like, I'll probably listen to it anyway. So at least it was there.
Mm-hmm. Has anyone come on this show and done a U2 record?
It's been on some people's lists, yeah, but hasn't made it to the. We haven't talked about them yet, and I think it'll happen eventually. I sort of feel like I can guess. Well, although I don't know if I can guess which album, because if someone was going to come on and talk about AC/DC, like Powerage wouldn't have been the album I would have thought someone would talk about. That happens sometimes too, with certain people bring on an artist and then they say an album and we're like, oh, you're going to talk about that one? That's weird, but it's also like, I don't know. I kind of dig it more when someone picks a less well-known album, because then there's got to be a story underneath that. And ultimately, that's what this podcast is really all about, is the story underneath why we love music.
For sure.
Yeah.
U2 is a little underrated, I would say, right now. I feel like they've always gotten kind of shit on, but
yeah,
they're perfectly fine band.
The kids are going to claim them. That's what's going to happen.
Couldn't happen to a more deserving band.
All right, Mike, you've built a hell of a case here, and so we're going to. But this is a competition, just so you know. So we need to make sure that we really take a look at your case and see how you did. So we are going to move into the dun dun deliberation phase.
We told you we'd have the sound effect, people. We told you we'd have it.
There it is.
We promised.
All right, I'll start. I think this is a solid case. I think that gut feeling is, at the end of the day, really what makes perfection in an album. I think that is you can't deny it. You know, you kind of have to, something feels perfect to you when it comes to music, and that kind of makes sense. And we keep hearing that over and over again. It has to mean something, right? I'm remembering how you mentioned that Riff Raff has everything that you like about the band contained in one song, which it's a feat to be able to do something like that. I also, you said that it's the album you put on the most by a band that you consider a top 5 band, which that is a strong mark in its favor for being a perfect album. And I'm also just remembering how you're talking about how it's less of an intellectual response that you have to listening to this record and more of a physical response, which is something I definitely experience as well with my most important albums that I've ever listened to. So those are the things I think are working in the favor of this argument. Michael, what's sticking out to you?
I mean, I'll echo the sort of visceral response. I mean, I know it's well documented on this podcast that we are big Radiohead fans, but they don't strike me as like, there's no visceral response. There's kind of like a moody in my feelings sort of response. And I appreciate that, like, you know, sometimes you just want to rock. Mm-hmm. And also, like, when you were talking about the whole jukebox situation, like with your parents and the business, like, I can't think of a better band to, like, if you're like at a bowling alley or at a bar or something like that, and you pick a song to play on the jukebox and you put on an AC/DC song, like, it is, you are now the coolest person in the bar.
Oh yeah,
for so the next, for even beyond the 5 minutes that the song's going to go on for. But then I also just really like your response to, we talk a lot about genre on this podcast and how we think it's kind of like bullshit. And ultimately it's like, you know, music is music, and it feels like it's sort of a way of categorizing things for corporate sales. And I was just glad to hear, you know, a real live musician be frank about like how you feel about genre and whatnot. So, I mean, it's, you know, thumbs up from me, but we haven't made it official, Tyler, but I'll put it to you, Tyler.
Put it to
like,
me.
You've heard Mike's case. You've listened to Powerage all week, or maybe even longer than that. Like, what do you think, Tyler? Does AC/DC's Powerage go to 11?
It absolutely does. Stamp of approval.
Woo!
Well done, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you.
So season 8 is off to a banging start, I would say. If we're starting with AC/DC, then God knows where it's going to go from here. You know, we got to start satanic and just go deeper, go higher, whichever direction you want to go.
It's just funny to me talking about Satan and thinking about songs that are coming up later this season, and how like that does not, I don't want to give away too much. Where we're headed.
True. It's true.
But anyway,
Mike, we're super grateful to have had you on here just to geek out just a little bit more. This is really the Paul Bunyan Slingshot is absolutely a real gem of a record, and I have not been able to stop listening to it for the past year. I found you. I caught wind of you guys on Stereogum. So nice. I want to call that out. That I discover a lot of great music through them, and they posted something on Instagram about you guys. I guess a year ago, about.
Shout out Stereogum.
Shout out Stereogum. They're excellent. And then just everybody started talking about this record. So congratulations. It's exceptional. It's really good stuff.
Thank you. Yeah. Hopefully we will have more very soon in the future. So
what's the best way our listeners can buy your album, Mike? Like, what's the best way to get their hands on it?
If they want to buy it straight to Bandcamp to buy the digital, we should have copies on hand by the time this episode comes out, I would say. So we'll have about 500 copies for sale, and there'll be a link through our Bandcamp to our like Big Cartel or wherever we'll be selling them at the time.
We'll make sure to put that in the episode bio as well, so people can
physical copies of Paul Bunyan.
Are you guys on the road in 2025? Are you hitting it hard? We're
gonna hit the road. I don't know. Hopefully, whenever this next record comes out, we'll have a little something to go along with it. Maybe a shorter tour in the spring, and then like something a little 3 or 4 week long U.S. tour in the fall. That's what I'm hoping for.
Cool.
And then maybe some things scattered.
Yeah.
In between in the summer.
And any festivals, maybe?
I would hope so. We did. We played Riot Fest in September, and that was
nice.
that was our first Chicago show we've ever played. So
no shit,
it's pretty crazy. Yeah,
great fit for you guys.
It was awesome. It was a blast. So hopefully there's more stuff like that down the road.
And I think at the time, okay, so we're recording this a little bit early, everybody, but you just played a few shows with Joyce Manor, right?
We just did one. We toured with them this spring early for
great
like
band.
8 shows. Yeah, they're awesome.
Oh, so
great
sick.
guys. They're great.
Cool.
And then so we played their last Never Hung Over Again 10-year anniversary show in Chicago with them.
Yeah.
It was awesome to be a part of that and send them off in Chicago.
Yeah. Are they from Chicago? Is that the...
No, they're from Torrance, California.
Torrance.
Okay. SoCal band.
That's not Chicago.
No.
But it does fit.
Chicago
Torrance
loves
fits
them, though, for sure.
Mm.
Yeah,
they showed out, huh?
Oh, yeah, it was a rocking show. It was them and Algernon, Cadwallader, and then us. Yeah, it was awesome. It was freezing cold. It was 0 degrees.
As it should be.
As it should be, yeah.
Everybody, go listen to Paul Bunyan's Slingshot and also listen to Powerage and also go listen to that Joyce Manor album while you're at it, just because that sounds like a great 3-album menu for any kind of afternoon.
For you want a rock and roll power hour. You can almost fit all those records in under an hour. I think.
Love that.
Well, dear listeners, thanks so much for checking us out. If you're not following us on the social medias, you should go ahead and do that. We're not going to list them all because based on when we're recording this right now, we're not sure which platforms are still in existence. So just find us on the social media platforms.